high-altitude mountain wind. Kumdak is a tiny village of just 17 homes, nestled deep in the rugged, high-altitude interior of Ladakh. Out here, the local economy relies entirely on livestock. Every family raises yaks, cows, sheep, and goats, and the responsibility of herding them doesn't fall solely to the adults. Even young children are expected to work the pastures. For our narrator and her 8-year-old brother, Nurbu, their first real test came when their parents were tied up with other chores. The two siblings were sent out alone to manage a herd of nearly 50 animals. They spent the afternoon drinking tea, eating roasted barley flour, and keeping a steady eye on the flock. As the hours passed without incident, they felt capable and entirely in control. Then, just as they began guiding the herd down the mountain, Nurbu shrieked. He pointed toward the rocks, where a massive, gray, furry animal had suddenly lunged forward and pinned a goat by its neck. They were staring at a snow leopard. It is an apex predator perfectly camouflaged against the crags, known locally as the Phantom of the Mountains. In Ladakh, it is the most dangerous creature a herder can encounter. The narrator froze, shaking so hard she could barely stand. But she remembered the survival training her parents had provided. Predators are often startled by loud, sudden noises. She grabbed Nurbu's hand, told him to be brave, and they started screaming. They grabbed loose stones and hurled them toward the leopard, using a stick to beat the ground as hard as they could to create an absolute ruckus. The chaotic noise worked. The leopard dropped the goat and retreated higher into the mountains. But as the children rushed over, they realized they were too late. The goat was dead. The predator was gone, but the dead animal at their feet represented a new, heavier burden, the fallout waiting for them back in the village. They wanted to bring the carcass back to prove what happened, but a full-grown goat weighs between 20 and 30 kilograms. For two children, carrying that weight down the mountain was physically impossible. Standing there over the dead animal, their terror of the leopard was replaced by the fear of punishment. It was their first day as herders, and they were convinced the village would hold them responsible for the loss. So they left the goat exactly where it fell and returned home. When their mother gave them tea and roti that evening, the children forced themselves to smile and lie, pretending the day had been entirely uneventful. But in a pastoral community, silence has consequences. Village tradition dictates that herders must immediately alert others if a carnivore is in the valley, so that the next group can prepare. By choosing to keep the attack a secret, the children inadvertently severed a critical line of defense, leaving the rest of the village completely unaware that a leopard was actively hunting their pastures. The next morning, the guilt became physical. The siblings stood near the village entrance, feeling sick to their stomachs, as they watched a fellow shepherd walk his flock directly up toward the kill site. They stood there in silence, watching their neighbor walk toward the same rocks where the leopard had attacked just 24 hours earlier. The siblings carried that secret for 2 months before the emotional burden broke them. Finally, the narrator confessed the entire ordeal to her mother. Her mother burst into tears, pulling them into a tight hug, shocked they had faced the leopard armed with nothing but rocks and a stick. But once the relief passed, she scolded them for their silence. Her reaction reinforced the core lesson of life in Kumdak. Individual bravery means little if it compromises the safety of the collective group. Years later, Sharab Lobsang began working professionally in wildlife conservation. Looking back at that childhood encounter, she realized that their inability to move the carcass had accidentally triggered a vital biological safety mechanism. While they felt like they were failing their duty by leaving the animal behind, that decision was actually the most responsible ecological outcome. Here is the biological logic following a predator kill. If a herder removes the carcass, the hungry leopard is forced to hunt again immediately. But if left undisturbed, the leopard feeds, becomes satiated, and leaves the remaining herds alone. This also provides a human benefit. When a snow leopard is full and stops hunting, it reduces the likelihood of retaliatory killing by farmers, helping to protect the endangered species. True coexistence requires 2 layers of protection: understanding the biology of the wild to safeguard the animals, and practicing honest communication to safeguard the community.